接下来呢，我们来看一下这两套题的第4和第6题。我们首先来看一下 TPU 6的第4题。那么第4题呢，同样我们要先阅读一段材料。In everyday life, when people speak of memory, they are almost always speaking about what psychologists would call explicit memories. An explicit memory is a conscious or intentional recollection, usually of facts, names, event, or other things that a person can state or declare. 这是第一种。There is another kind of memory that is not conscious. Memory of this kind are called implicit memories. An individual can have an experience that he or she cannot consciously recall, yet still display reactions that indicate the experience has been somehow recorded in his or her brain. 我们这里提到了两种 implicit and explicit memories. 接下来我们来看一下题目的要求。Using the example of the car advertisement, explain what is meant by implicit memory. 这一点我们就要看到，我们首先在听力材料中会听到 example， 我们要对这个 example 来进行总结，同时要解释清楚 what is implicit memory。那么知道了题目的要求，我们就来先听一下听力。
Now listen to part of a lecture on this topic in a psychology class.
Okay, the first kind of memory, we're all very familiar with this, right? You probably remember what you had for dinner last night. You have a conscious memory of last night's dinner. So if I ask you, what did you eat last night, you could tell me. But these other kind of memories, implicit memories, they work differently. Let's take an example from the world of advertising. When you're driving along a highway, you see plenty of billboards, roadside advertisements. You certainly don't remember them all, but they still affect you. Marketing researchers have shown, well, to be specific, let's say there's a billboard on the highway advertising a car called the Panther. The ad shows a big picture of the car, and above the car in huge letters is the name of the car, Panther. A lot of people drive by the billboard. But ask those drivers later if they saw any advertisements for cars, and, well, they'll think about it, and a lot of them will say no. They honestly don't remember seeing any. They have no conscious memory of the Panther billboard. So you ask these same people a different question. You ask, you ask them to name an animal starting with the letter P. What do you think they'll answer? Do they say pig? Pig is the most common animal that starts with the letter P. But they don't say pig. They say panther. The billboard had an effect, even though the drivers don't remember ever seeing it.
好的，那么听完了听力，大家感觉如何呢？我们来学习一下这个答案呢，参考一下。Explicit memories are conscious recollections, whereas implicit memories are not conscious. But implicit memories still have effects on us. The professor in the lecture uses an example of billboard to explain implicit memory. There are many billboards along the highway, and when drivers drive through, they see those billboards. They don't remember all the billboards, but the billboards affect them. Suppose there is a car advertisement with its name Panther about its picture. A lot of drivers pass it by. Later, when asked whether they remember seeing any car advertisements, the drivers will say no, because they honestly don't remember. They don't have conscious memory of the Panther billboard. But if asked to name an animal starting with a letter P, drivers will say panther. So the car billboard had effect on them. 这就是对咱们这个 sample 的一个总结，那么就解释出来了。那我们继续来看一下 TPU 7的第4道题。同样的，还是先阅读一下材料。Individuals often modify their behaviors based on what they have learned about the possible consequences of their actions. When an individual learns through experience that a certain behavior results in pleasant consequences, that behavior is likely to be repeated. An unpleasant consequence, on the other hand, discourages further repetition of the behavior. While behavior modification can be observed in experiments, it also occurs frequently in everyday settings. The individuals change their behavior based on what they have learned about the consequences of that behavior. 这个地方很明显啊，我们要解释的一个词啊，已经说出来了 ，behavior modification。那么同样的，我们也是看到了这个题目的要求呀，也是让我们来解释一下 behavior modification， 然后还要用到咱们听力中会听到一个 lecture 中的内容。我们呀，现在先听一下听力。
Now listen to part of a lecture on the topic in a psychology class.
This happens all the time with kids in schools. Say there's a little boy or girl who's just starting school. Well, they're not really used to the rules about proper behavior for a classroom. So at the beginning, they might, interrupt the teacher, walk around the classroom when they're supposed to be sitting down. Just misbehaving in general. Okay, but what happens? Well, the teacher gets angry with them when they act this way. They might get punished. They have to sit at their desks when everyone else is allowed to go outside and play. And they certainly don't like that. Soon, they'll learn that this kind of behavior gets them in trouble. They'll also learn that when they raise their hand to talk to the teacher and sit quietly and pay attention during class, they're rewarded. The teacher tells them she's proud of them and maybe puts little happy face stickers on their homework. Now that their behavior gets a good reaction from the teacher, the kids learn to always act this way in class and not behave the way they used to.
好的，听力听完了。我们知道呀，这种题目的作答，首先要对 reading material 进行一个总结，然后再把 lecture 中的内容啊一条一条的抽剥出来，然后呢，咱们这个内容啊就出来了。Behavior modification is a phenomenon that individuals change their behaviors based on what they have learned about the consequences of certain behaviors. 这是对这个 behavior modification 的一个定义。这个啊，我们可以在 reading material 里面啊提取出很多的内容。The professor uses example to illustrate the phenomenon. In the example, at the beginning, the kids at school don't know the results of class. They may interrupt the teacher, walk around the classroom. The teacher gets angry with them, so the kids get punished. They have to sit in the classroom when everyone else is playing outside. They don't like this consequence. They know these behaviors get them in trouble, so they start to raise hand, sit quietly, and they pay attention to the teacher. They get reward from doing so. The teacher may say that she is proud of them, and maybe put happy face stickers on their homework. Now that their behaviors get good reactions from teacher, the kids learn to always act like this. 这个啊，就是对咱们这个 modification 进行了一个解释，用了这样一个 sample。那么咱们一定要注意抓住 example 中的信息点啊，在这个 lecture 听的时候啊，一定要非常认真，记下一些关键词。我们来看一下 TPO 的第6题。这个呀，咱们是先听一段听力材料，然后直接进行回答的。我们先来审一下题。Using points and examples from the talk, explain the difference between active and passive attention. 那么这有2个专业的一个名词，一个是 active attention， 一个是 passive attention。那么同样呢，我们还要用到这个 lecture 里面的 examples， 所以呢，我们一定要注意非常认真的听，然后还要注意这2个名词之间的区别，通过这 example 是怎么表现出来的。然后现在我们先听一下听力。
Now listen to part of a talk in an education class.
One of the hardest parts of teaching is keeping your students' attention. Now, the key to doing this is understanding the concept of attention. Basically, there are 2 types of attention. The first type is active. Active attention is voluntary. It's when you intentionally make yourself focus on something. And since it requires effort, it's hard to keep up for a long time. Okay, so let's say you're teaching a biology class, and today's topic is frogs. All right, you're standing at the front of the room and lecturing. A frog is a type of animal known as an amphibian. Well, this isn't necessarily going to keep the students' interest, but most of them will force themselves to pay active attention to your lecture. But it's only a matter of time before they get distracted. Now, the other type of attention is passive attention, when it's involuntary. Passive attention requires no effort because it happens naturally. If something's really interesting, students don't have to force themselves to pay attention to it. They do it without even thinking about it. So, back to our biology lecture. You start talking about frogs, and then you pull a live frog out of your briefcase. You're describing it while you hold it up. Show the students how long its legs are and how they're used for jumping, for example. Then maybe you even let the frog jump around a bit on the desk or the floor. In this case, by doing something unexpected, something more engaging, you can tap into their passive attention, and it can last much longer than active attention. As long as the frog's still there, your students will be interested.
那么好的，听完了听力呢，我相信大家都觉得这个例子非常有趣，我们一起来看一下。Active attention is that we intentionally pay attention to something, so it's voluntary. Since it requires effort, it won't last very long. Passive attention is involuntary. It lasts longer than active attention. In the lecture, the professor uses a biology class as an example. Suppose I'm the teacher of the class and the topic is about frog. If I walk into the classroom and stand on the podium saying frog is kind of animal, the students will force themselves to pay attention to my words, but this active attention won't last long. The students will be distracted sooner or later. However, if I take a live frog with me and show it to the students while talking about it, the students will be interested and will involuntarily pay attention to my class. So by taking something unexpected, I make the class engaging and tap into the students' passive attention. 这个地方对这个例子进行了一个陈述，咱们一定要注意加上一些细节，并且注意这两个名词之间是怎么对比出来的。我们来看一下 TPO 第7套题的第6题。Using points examples from the lecture, explain the two major factors of product quality and how their role in consumer decision-making has changed. 我们首先要解释一下什么是 two major factors of product quality。还有就是他们在 consumer decision making 这个过程中发生了一些什么样的改变。我知道了这两个要抓住的重点，我们就来听一下听力，并且注意这两个部分。
Number 6. In this question, you will listen to a short lecture. You will then be asked to summarize important information from the lecture. After you hear the question, you will have 20 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. Listen to part of a lecture in a business class.
If a consumer has to choose between two products, what determines the choice? Assume that someone, a purchaser, is choosing between two products that cost the same, okay? If people have a choice between two identically priced products, which one will they choose? They choose the one they think is of higher quality, of course. But what does it mean for a product to be a high-quality product? Well, business analysts usually speak of two major factors of quality. One factor is reliability, and the other is what we call features. So reliability. What's reliability? Well, a product is reliable if it works the way we expect it to work, if it can go a reasonable amount of time without needing repairs. If a product, a car for example, doesn't work the way it should and needs repairs too soon, we say it's unreliable. So product reliability means basically the absence of defects or problems that you weren't expecting. It used to be that when people thought about product quality, they thought mainly about reliability. Today, it's different. People do still care about reliability, don't get me wrong, It's just that manufacturing standards are now so high that, we'll take cars, for example, today. Today's cars are very reliable. So reliability is important, but it's not going to be the deciding factor. So if reliability isn't the deciding factor anymore, what is? Features. All those extras, the things a product has that aren't really necessary, but that make it easier to use or that make it cool. For example, new cars today are loaded with features like electric windows, sunroofs, air conditioning, stereos, and so forth. When people are comparing products today, they look at features because reliability is pretty much equal across the board. And that's why manufacturers include so many features in their products.
好的，听完了听力呢，我们要进行作答了。那么大家有没有组织好自己的答案呢？我们来看一下这个答案。When a purchaser is considering two identically priced products, they make decisions according to the quality. There are two major factors of product quality, reliability and features. A product is reliable when it works the way we expect. For example, 那么举上一个咱们听到的例子 If a car doesn't work the way it should, and it needs repair all the time, it is not reliable. So reliability means the absence of defects and problems. However, our concern with reliability is different now. Manufacturer standards are so high that products are all very reliable. So reliability is not a decision factor anymore. Instead, features are becoming more important in making decisions. Features are extras and things aren't necessary. Features make a product cool and easier to use. For example, in a car, features are electric windows, air conditioning, and stereos. Since reliability of different products are almost equal, people care more about the features. 我们可以看到啊，这个答案有两个部分构成。首先告诉了那么什么是两个先决条件，那么后来啊对这两个条件都进行了总结，并且看出整个的变化从 reliability 到了 features， 那么这个答案就非常完整了。那么以上呢就是今天课程的全部内容了，非常感谢大家。